Hey there, my name is Mohammed Taha. If you're someone looking for tech-related jobs such as software development, QA engineering, or maybe a security engineering position, then I would suggest you watch this video till the end, where I will walk you through some of the core products of Phreesia, a software as a service company with around 1,500 employees across the US and Canada, according to their LinkedIn page. In a nutshell, Phreesia is a US-based company headquartered in Wilmington, Delaware, that develops patient intake management software. When it comes down to patient intake technology, Phreesia is a market leader in this category and caters to thousands of organizations within the healthcare sector across the US and Canada. Before we look at some of the product offerings, let's first get a sense of some of the core problems that the company is trying to address, which are staffing shortage and low patient activation. So at a very high level, the way Phreesia is addressing this staffing shortage is by transforming all the manual processes involved in the patient intake management into a digital experience, which allows the healthcare providers to smartly and efficiently manage their intake process rather than focusing on hiring more staff. Another pain point they're trying to solve is low patient activation. So first of all, what is patient activation? Patient activation refers to a patient's knowledge, skill, and confidence in self-managing their health conditions during both illness and wellness. In other words, patients should be more active and effective managers of their health and healthcare. Basically, the higher the patient activation, the better the health outcomes a patient has. So the way Phreesia is addressing the low patient activation is through the various features embedded within the product, which can be utilized for increasing patient activation. Some of these features include automated text messages and phone calls to patients, health campaigns which allow practices to connect with patients through targeted messages, announcements such as giving patients tips for staying healthy, sending automated appointment reminders for reducing no-shows, self-scheduling feature for patients which helps them in becoming more active in their care. And the list goes on. As I said, these features are spread out across Phreesia's products and can be smartly utilized by healthcare providers in keeping the patients highly engaged in taking a much more active role towards their health. Now let's quickly look at what patient intake management is before we take a walkthrough of the products. Patient intake is something that we all have been part of, which is basically walking into a medical facility like a clinic or a hospital, and the first thing that you're made to do by the front desk staff is that you're typically given a pen and a notepad to fill out various types of registration forms, which includes your name, address, phone number, medical history, consent forms, insurance verification, collecting HIPAA-related signatures if you live in the US, making payments, and a lot more. But with Phreesia's intake applications, all these manual repetitive tasks have been transformed into a digital experience, which not only makes the patient engagement journey simpler, but really also improves the overall efficiency of a healthcare provider in managing patients. Now that we have a basic understanding of how patient intake works, let's look at an end-to-end high-level overview of how Phreesia's applications have automated this whole intake process. So the patient engagement workflow starts with the patient receiving a link from the healthcare provider that directs the patients to Phreesia's appointment application, which then in turn gives the patients the ability to self-schedule the appointment directly from the smartphones anytime and from anywhere they want. After submitting the self-schedule request, the patient receives an automated message notifying them that the appointment has been scheduled. So that was the appointment application in action. Now on the day of the scheduled appointment, the patient receives a notification for check-in that basically prompts the patients to fill out the necessary registration, which, as I had mentioned earlier, includes items such as patient demographics, medication and allergies, insurance, payments, and so on. And again, patients can make use of the smartphone for completing the registration from wherever they are. Do keep in mind though that apart from the mobile check-in solution, the registration product also gives patients the convenience of in-office registration through an iPad using Phreesia's PadX application, or patients can also make use of Phreesia's registration kiosk, which typically may be utilized in cases where a practice has a high volume waiting room or a larger medical facility. One thing I would like to note is that every information that the patient enters through Phreesia's applications and supporting hardware is highly sensitive and is protected according to guidelines stated under the HIPAA law in the US and the PIPEDA law in Canada. So if you plan to apply as a security engineer at Phreesia, then it may be useful for you to know that Phreesia has been recognized and awarded with some of the industry's most prestigious security-related certifications, such as the HITRUST CSF and the SOC Type 2 certifications for their efforts in consistently being able to keep the patient's healthcare data safe and secure. Apart from these certifications, Phreesia has also been recognized as a point-to-point encryption solution provider, which basically validates them for having a solution in place that is able to encrypt a patient's credit card or debit card information as soon as they make a payment. So it is interesting to note that Phreesia adheres to both healthcare and card-related compliance, which I would say is a unique and interesting combination of compliances to be part of as a security engineer. And now, apart from the appointment and the registration products, Phreesia has also made the payments and collections product more flexible and convenient for the patients and the service providers before, during, or after the visit. Basically, patients have the option of paying either by visiting the healthcare provider's website through Phreesia's payment application, or from their smartphone, or either in person at the office using Phreesia's registration kiosk. Lastly, patients also have the option of making payments through the conventional way, which is at the front desk, by making use of their cards on file securely stored on Phreesia's network. And when it comes down to payment options, patients have also been given more flexibility and choice in terms of how they pay. They could either use their credit cards or make payments through the more modern way by making use of Google Pay or Apple Pay. Now, after the appointment, the patient receives a text message asking them to complete a patient satisfaction survey so that the healthcare provider is able to get a real-time feedback about their services. Not only that, but later, sometime after a patient's visit, providers can make use of Phreesia's health campaigns for providing patients with, for example, educational content, or maybe advising them for breast cancer screening and stuff like that. And making use of the health campaign is one of the ways in which healthcare providers can engage patients, resulting in an increased patient activation. Now, after the appointment, the provider also receives real-time email notifications in regards to any negative service they get. Now, all these patient surveys are put together in the form of analytics that allows the healthcare provider to improve their operations and increase patient satisfaction by making use of Phreesia's analytics dashboard, which basically includes key performance indicators or KPIs such as Net Promoter Score, which gives the practice an idea of how likely patients are to recommend their healthcare facility to family, friends, relatives, and so on. Other KPIs include staff communication, staff courtesy, quality of service, and there's a lot of other KPIs as part of Phreesia's analytics dashboard. And also in regards to patient activation, Phreesia has added a new tool to their arsenal, which they call the Measure Patient Activation. Basically, they are making use of the Patient Activation Measure, a registered trademark that measures the patient's ability to self-manage their health for the purpose of assessing how activated a patient is. And you can always read more about this offering on the website. Alright, so I hope I was able to give you a general idea about Phreesia and its products. But keep in mind that I have only touched the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more features associated with each of these products other than what I described. For example, the appointments product also includes features such as automated outreach, minimizing cancellations, filling up open appointments, and a lot of other features other than just the self-scheduling or automated appointment notification that I touched on. So what I would suggest is, if you decide on applying to Phreesia, then visit their website and read more about the products in more detail. They have a plethora of information on the website on every single one of the products, and honestly, it's a very detailed and organized website from what I've seen. Alright, so now let's look at Phreesia in terms of job security. Currently, the tech sector has become extremely volatile with massive layoffs sweeping across the tech industry, something that was last seen in 2000, almost 23 years ago during the dot-com bubble crash. So the biggest concern that tech professionals have as of now under the current circumstances, including those looking for tech-related jobs, is how secure the job is going to be moving forward. And job security is directly proportional to the financial performance of a company. So keeping in light the current macroeconomic conditions, let's see how Phreesia has been able to fare so far in terms of its revenue and its growth anticipation moving forward. So here is a revenue chart of the company, and the first thing to notice is the steady incline in revenue from Q1 of fiscal year 2019 to Q3 of fiscal year 2023, an increase by 3.1 times in revenue during this period. And for those who are confused to see revenue already being reported for Q3 of 2023, that is not your regular year of 2023, but rather something called fiscal year, which is used in the business world, that is different from the calendar year. So $73 million was generated last year in 2022 in the third quarter, which is absolutely amazing as compared to $38 million in the same period of Q3 of fiscal year 2021, basically double the revenue in a span of 2 years. Not only that, but if we look at the future growth of the company, according to analysts, revenue growth is forecasted to reach around $460 million by 2025, which if achievable would be a 40% increase in revenue in just a span of 2 years. And so based on the current standing of the company, including the growth forecast, Phreesia definitely seems to be poised towards growth. And if you're wondering where I got these charts from, just Google Phreesia. I already have it, Phreesia investor presentation, and it should be the third one right here, the latest presentation, which was conducted on December 2022. Just click on view this presentation and There you go. There's a lot of information for those who are interested. You can go through this presentation for a lot of other details, but here's the revenue chart which I just went through. So based on these charts and numbers, Phreesia seems to have a very strong grip of the digital patient intake market, which I would say very much translates to a great job security. Now lastly, before I conclude, I would like to touch base on the best part about Phreesia, and that is in 2020, at the peak of COVID, they decided to transition towards becoming a 100% remote company. And it's really amazing to see them continue with this huge organizational shift, especially in contrast to big name tech companies out there that have started urging employees to return back to office. Alright, so that's about it. I hope this information helped, and I wish you good luck if you plan to apply to Phreesia and also overall with your job hunting.